Hardcore Nuzlocke, strategy is a very crucial element when taking on these challenges. But what if we didn't know what we were going up against? What if all of our encounters, trainer, boss battles, base stats, and abilities were randomized? That's right, I decided to take on a Pokemon Alpha Sapphire Randomizer, and y'all know the vibes, we are taking it on with Hardcore Nuzlocke rules. This run was absolutely insane, and for my mental health, go ahead and drop a like, it supports the channel and I love it. So let's do it. Let's see if I can beat a Pokemon Alpha Sapphire Randomizer Hardcore Nuzlocke. We go ahead and start our journey in good old Little Root Town, and our mom had some unique friends helping us move.
Yo, who the f is this?
We then go and check in on the professor that honestly looks like he's about to get his nuts clipped off by this Poochyena. But we obviously don't care because this is where we choose our beloved starter. Now, if you've played Pokemon for a while, the choice here is going to be very easy. Larvesta can't evolve until the champion's level cap at 59, so he's ruled out. And Pansear needs a Firestone to be half decent, and all of the item locations have been randomized as well. So that just leaves us with our trusty Bronzor. Let's get it. After making quick work out of the Poochyena, it is time to battle May, and surely she couldn't have anything crazy. Wait, who started the God Mode music? Why is the God Mode music playing? Are you kidding me? Off the rip, she starts out with a Regigigas as I lead with Frisbee. Regigigas starts by hitting us with a super effective knockoff to 5 HP as we miss a Hypnosis. It then follows up by hitting us with a Confuse Ray as we keep missing Hypnosis. My only plan is to put this thing to sleep, but we keep missing. Regigigas then hits us to 1 HP in the red with Dizzy Punch as I slowly am losing hope for attempt 1. Regigigas then goes for a Foresight, and then we finally hit our Hypnosis to put it to sleep on our 4th attempt, giving me a shrivel of hope. He then somehow stays asleep for 3 turns as we knock him to the red with 3 Confusions. Regigigas then wakes up, and I see attempt 1 coming to an end. Is what I thought, until he just uses Foresight so David can defeat Goliath with 1 final Confusion. Just to think that this was our first battle of the run is chilling, but we made it through. Now it is time to get some new encounters. After that battle, it grants us access to Route 101, where we can catch ourselves our first encounter, a Lopunny. But Frisbee got nervous and killed it, so then we head over to Route 103, where we can catch ourselves our actual first encounter, a Remoraid. Absolutely awful. But we caught it, so welcome to the team ball. We then go talk to our deadbeat dad that rather day drink and smoke cigarettes in a public park rather than be a half-decent dad. I am so sorry, I don't know what just came out of me then. As we are talking about the divorce papers, this new dude to the scene, Wally, pulls up and needs help catching a Pokemon, so we help out. After that, we head over to Route 104 where we catch ourselves a Lickitung, but after this is where I make a huge mistake. We get ourselves into a battle with Rich Boy Winston, and this dude has an Azelf with Rest and Confusion. I didn't level up Lickitung enough, nor my other Pokemon, so with that Rest Confusion combo, it was enough to take out every member of my party, ending our first attempt. I was kicking myself knowing I could have prepared for something like this, but this is how it goes in Nuzlocke. All I can do is try again. We fully reset and choose our starter again, and I choose Basculin because he is a single stage Pokemon and is great during the early game. We then fight May again, and she has an Imposter Onyx, so with a few tackles, we make quick work out of her as well. We then kill our 102 encounter again. I don't know why this keeps happening. But then on Route 103, we catch something that gives me a lot of hope for this run. We catch ourselves a Sigilif, but not just any Sigilif. We caught one with Solid Rock that lowers the damage from super effective moves. Absolutely OP. On Route 104, we catch ourselves a Dwebble, and I didn't realize we could have just walked around the trainer battle with the man that just ended our first attempt. Good to know. We then catch a boulder in the Petalburg Woods, make quick work out of Team Aqua, and then we head straight to Rustboro City. When we get there, we immediately catch our 5th encounter, a Tynamo, and then after that, we go ahead and challenge the first gym leader, Roxanne. She sends out her first Pokemon, Furfro, as I lead with Tynamo. She used Growl on the first turn, so we end up paralyzing it with Thunder Wave. This is great, so now I can start loading up my special attack with Charge Beam as it uses Growl in the process. We end up KOing it with 3 3 charge beams and only taking damage from 1 tackle. This is awesome considering her next Pokemon is a Zubat, so after tanking a weak Astonish, 1 more charge beam secures us our first gym badge. We then head into the Rust Turf Tunnel and pick up a Focus Sash and a Joltik, and then we traverse the seas, making it to Dewford Town. When we land the ship, we end up fishing up a Whiscash and catch it, and then in the cave, we end up catching a Drizzle Watchhog. That is lit. It is really sad to say, but when we were training levels, a Dragon Raging Garchomp took out our beloved Whiscash. This is absolutely terrible, and our Drizzle Pokemon are becoming more limited due to this bad luck. This does mean that we make it to the second gym leader, Brawly. He starts the battle with his Tailo as I send out Watchhogs setting up the rain. We end up outspeeding and we go for a crunch that ends up one-hit KOing him, leading into Amistar. I then go for a low kick, surprisingly doing less damage than I thought it would as it sets up its defense with withdrawal. Not seeing a lot of progress happening, I switch into Tynamo that gets hit with a weak bite on the way in. We then start trading Charge Beam for bite, but in the end, Tynamo reigns supreme that earns us our second gym badge. On the way, we meet the magnificent Steven Stone that gives us Shard Split, whatever that does, and then we head over to the Pokemon Museum to battle Team Aqua, and dude, this battle got very intense. It wasn't in the sense defeating Umbreon with a few bug bites, but it was when they sent out Salamence. But we eventually whittle him down with a few Aqua Jets scraping by the skin on our teeth. We then make it to Route 110 where we can pick up a Pumpkaboo, and this is great considering my team is lacking in the Ghost and Grass department, so this is an awesome pickup for sure. We then get into a battle with this lady right here that ends up having a Cresselia, like come on bro. But we take it out fortunately, and we then have to battle a Volcanion right after that. Are you kidding me? But now that my team is a little bit more diverse, we were able to take him out as well. On a side note, if you ever want to see any of these challenges live, I am trying to stream more on Twitch when I can. The link will be down in the description below. We now have to challenge May, but honestly, her team was a piece of cake. The only Pokemon that posed a threat was Mesprit, but it just goes down with a few crunches, and her Baneri goes down to 2 Razor Leafs. Not even her bulky Leafeon stood a chance against the Great Ladder, so this will pivot us into Mauville City where we have a battle with the 3rd gym leader, Watson. He sends out his Staraptor as I lead with Ladder, and on the first turn he sets up with Double Team as I confuse him with Confuse Ray. I tried to switch into Tynamo, but this thing has Shadow Tag, but Staraptor ends up staying confused as we do a little damage with Crunch. After that, Staraptor keeps either doing awful damage with Wing Attack or setting up with Double Team, but that doesn't phase the Great Ladder, so we took him down with an absurd amount of crunches. His next Pokemon is Seal, and after hitting him to half with a Super Fang, he knocks us to below half with Icy Wind, also lowering our speed. Seal then goes for a rest, bringing his HP back to full as we knock it back to half with another Super Fang. I was getting kind of nervous with my damage output, so I switch into Tynamo as Seal stays asleep. Seal then stays asleep for 1 more turn, and since we have the proper range on it, we end up taking it out with 1 more Charge Beam. He now sends out his final Pokemon, Golurk. Now I'm dumb and I thought Golurk was a rock and ghost type, not a ground and ghost, so I used Thunder Wave, giving it a free turn to hit me with a Shadow Punch. If this thing has magnitude, it can be the end for my whole team, so I switch into Swing as Golurk goes for an Iron Defense. Now, this is also a problem because my whole team is filled with physical attackers, so after hitting him with a few Aqua Jets, I am doing less and less damage as he is setting up. He is walling Swing pretty good, so I switch into Slide that tanks a Shadow Punch to half. I then use Feint Attack to bring him to below half as he brings me to 9 HP in the red with a Shadow Punch. I definitely need to switch here, so I send out Monkey Bars that tanks Shadow Punch on 16 HP. I need damage on this thing, so Monkey Bar uses 1 final Razor Leaf as it goes down to 1 final Shadow Punch. Rest in peace, homie. This does give us a free pivot into Ladder, so with a few crunches, only taking 1 Mud Slap in the process, we finally take out that deadly beast for the 3rd gym badge. This will now give us access to Route 111, 113, and 14, where we can catch some pretty good encounters along the way. We also run into a Regigigas in the wild, but due to my Hardcore Nuzlocke rules, I am not allowed to catch any legendaries. So we try again, and we get a slow start Badoo. Thank you, Randomizer. We then head to Meteor Falls to take on Team Aqua in a double battle, but we were way better equipped for the challenge. We then catch a few more encounters before heading to Mount Chimney so we can conquer Team Aqua once again. And yes, that was a shiny Sunkern. I did end up knocking out a Skarmory in this exact location before, but with Shiny Claws, you can catch a shiny Pokemon even if you have eliminated your encounter. And it was a Sunkern, so I really didn't think y'all would mind. It's not like it's going to be pulling a lot of weight on the team anyways. Now we finally get to the point where we can fight Aqua leaders Shelly and Archie, and honestly, they were both pretty easy. Shelly's only scare was she had a Mewtwo, but it just kept spamming Psych Up, so that was an easy dub, and Archie's Pokemon were second stage evolutions, so they were easily managed as well. Now that we have finally conquered those battles, we can finally make it to the 4th gym leader, Flannery. The first Pokemon she lobs out is Mythical as I lead with Bike. On the first turn, we outspeed with super effective Brick Break to bring her deep into the red as she confuses us with a Swagger. Flannery then decides to burn her Hyper Potion as we fortunately break through confusion and one-hit KO that thing with the Brick Break, and since we got the attack boost from Swagger, it gave us the edge on that KO. Her Togekiss is up next, a huge threat, so I keep up the momentum with Jump Kick for not much as she starts charging up Sky Attack. I very much need to switch, so I get Ball out there to tank a Sky Attack, and whoa, it does a huge amount of damage with a critical hit. I then hard switch into Ladder, knowing it's going to start charging up Sky Attack again. I then take a huge risk and use Confuse Ray, and fortunately my luck hasn't ran dry and it stays confused. Now one thing about Togekiss's moveset that I totally forgot about is it can learn Aura Sphere, and after hitting it to half with a Super Fang, it absolutely annihilates Ladder with one Aura Sphere. This does give us a free switch into Slide to finish it off with a final Smackdown, but I really wanted to take Ladder to the league. Her last Pokemon is Emboar, but it only hits one rollout, so 3 consecutive Smackdowns earns us our 4th gym badge. After we beat the gym, we then talked to May, and she said that she can teleport us back to Petalburg City, but we obviously press no. Are you kidding me? Why do I do this kind of thing to myself? We then travel all the way back to the sand dunes, and we finally find ourselves our next encounter, a Delphox. And after that, it's time to fight our father, Norman, the 5th gym leader. He sends out Butterfree as I lead with Delphox, and on the first few turns, we knock it to the red with Fire Spins as it succumbs to the residual damage from Fire Spin. His next Pokemon is Gourgeist, so I switch into Bike as it just sets up with Dive. I then use Meditate to boost my attack stat as Gourgeist hits me with Dive to around half. I then use Brick Break, bringing it very deep into the red as it just sets up with Aqua Ring, so one more Brick Break does him in. His last Pokemon is Vanillish, and it doesn't take rocket science to tell you that a super effective Brick Break to the face just earned us our 5th gym badge. We then see Steven, and he said he wants to fly with Latias in order to save Latias from Team Aqua. But y'all boys already know the vibes. They were a piece of cake per usual, so Latias wants to tag along with us for the journey. This Latias that we have obtained actually wasn't a Latias at all, but it was a Grovyle. Awesome. I then decide it's really time to start buffing my team more, so I go searching on Route 119, and it certainly didn't disappoint being a Tyranitar. Any kind of dark typing at all is amazing, and with this thing's sky high attack stat, he will make a great addition for my team. We then get to the Institute, and this lab rat is trying to get his research back, but Shelly said nah, these hands are rated E for everyone, and straight up smacked the dog out of this man. That's my guy though, so I am not gonna let that slide and challenge her to battle. The battle was taken care of very quickly, and then May comes and jump scares us into another battle as well, so we take her on. She starts the battle with Snow Run as I lead with Bike, but a Brick Break to the face segues us into our worst nightmare. That nightmare is in Alakazam, and I don't have a lot of coverage on this dude other than a Dwebble, so pray for me. I switch into Ball while Alakazam uses Reflect, and then we set up Light Screen, but then Alakazam uses Psycho Cut, which means he's a physical attacker. This is clearly not good for multiple reasons. Psycho Cut is doing a decent amount of damage being a resisted move, and my Air Cutters are not doing a dent to this thing, which means I need to come up with a plan quick. After being dropped down to 43 HP, I switch into Dwebble that takes a huge amount of damage from Psycho Cut, and at this point, I either need to let Dwebble go or bank on a risky play. And so, y'all know what I'm about to do. I'm about to go for option 2. Alakazam just went for Reflect, which is amazing, giving me a free switch into Bike, and after that, he goes for Telekinesis so we can smash him to the red with the super powered Brick Break. Now at this point, I really didn't know what to do other than to sack Bike, so unfortunately, one more Psycho Cut is enough to end Bike's reign of terror. This does give me a free switch into Swing, so one more Aqua Jet finally gets that thing off the field. Her last Pokemon is Relicanth, so after smacking it with 2 more Aqua Tails, we can finally end the battle versus May. We then can catch one more encounter in Vespiquen, which means that we can finally challenge the 6th gym leader, Winona. She starts the battle off with Raichu as I lead with Slide. I start the battle by using Stealth Rock to hurt incoming Pokemon as she smashes me to half with a Thunderbolt, also paralyzing Slide. I then reluctantly used Stealth Rock again, thinking it was like Toxic Spike, so we just gave Raichu a free hit with Thunderbolt. Not very happy about my decision making there, so I switch into Scooter and he tanks the Thunderbolt very comfortably. Raichu then knocks me to half with another Thunderbolt as we miss Rock Slide. Are you kidding me? Raichu then goes for Tail Whip for some reason, and then we do big damage with Rock Slide, bringing her to a quarter. Winona of course burns a Hyper Potion, why wouldn't she, but then we bring her back to a quarter health with Rock Slide once more. They then outspeed and didn't get a crit with Thunderbolt fortunately, so we can hit Rock Slide to finally take that thing out. She now sends out Skiddo, so I switch into Flashlight into a resisted Seed Bomb. Now, I thought Skiddo was going to be a piece of cake, but y'all have to also know that base stats in this game are also randomized, so my Pig Knight, although in a normal game of Pokemon is a physical attacker, in this game he's more of a special one. This means I am relying on Ember as my best move, and Skiddo has Synthesis to stall me. I am so serious. This took me like 5 minutes to complete, but eventually I edge it out with a burn, so one more Heat Crash finally takes out Skiddo. She next sends out Masquerain, and since the Stealth Rock did a lot of damage, I stay in and unleash a sumo style Heat Crash to take it out for the one-hit KO. Her last Pokemon is Hoopa, and fellas, I'm just going to warn you, you are about to watch one of the dumbest plays I have ever made in this game. I go ahead and do a bit of chip damage with Heat Crash as Hoopa sets up Phantom Force. Now, I just want to apologize ahead of time because I can't believe I made this mistake. I thought Dark types weren't affected by Ghost moves, so for whatever reason, I switched Scooter into a Phantom Force that immediately takes out one of my best Pokemon. This does give us a free switch into Swing that can do over half with a Crunch, and since Hoopa's ability is color change, we can switch into Grovyle to take it out with one more X-Scissor. This battle had me very dejected afterwards, and I genuinely could have made better plays, or even more, could have did a quick Google search that probably would have saved Tyranitar's life. And if I keep messing up like this, I'm definitely not going to make it to the champion. But from here on out, I am about to lock in, and we at least got the gym badge proving we made it over one more hurdle. We luckily have more encounters to pick up on the way, so I head to the Safari Zone and we find a Houndoom. But this, my friends, is no normal Houndoom. This one has Parental Bond as its ability, and that is amazing. We also end up picking up a Gallade, and dear God, that speed stat is just terrible. Our next challenge is against May, but since we have a pretty bulky team, hers just got wiped to the floor. Her Whismur was of course a one-hit KO with any move, so I just went with Aqua Tail. Her Exceligar was a one-hit KO with Heat Crash. Corsola got cooked by a 4-hit Arm Thrust, pause, and her Blissey, well, was honestly really annoying to take out. It was so bulky and had moves like Sing, but the Mighty Dirt held strong and defeated that obese nurse in training, giving us yet another win over May. We then shut down the Celadon department store by buying some pretty good TMs there. We pick up some more encounters, run into whatever this monstrosity is, and then then we have a lot of Team Aqua lore to push through. With how well equipped my team is, Team Aqua were a bunch of pushovers, so I hope I have more of a challenge battling Tate and Liza, the 7th gym leaders. They start the battle with their Mime Jr. and Celio as I lead with Meganium and Crustle. Now off the rip, sending in Crustle was a bad move considering his ability is Snow Warning, starting the hail, and Celio has Blizzard. If y'all know anything about that combo, it can be deadly, considering that Blizzard is a 100% accuracy move now when hail is set up. And not only that, I have made the amazing move to lock myself into Petal Dance, taking out Mime Jr. So this is just a waiting game on whether or not my Meganium makes it out of this. We then miss the KO by a hair with Petal Dance while I set up a light screen with Sigilyph, reducing some of the damage from the incoming Blizzard. But Sigilyph gets frozen and Meganium confused, so that halfway backfired. I then switch into Emboar and Basculin as Tate and Liza go for a Hyper Potion, so we got in on a free switch. We then knocked Celio down to the red once more with a double-edge arm thrust combo as it just goes for a swagger on Basculin. Knowing my luck with confusion, I switch into Sapphire as Tate and Liza uses another Hyper Potion, so I knock Celio to half with a neutral flamethrower. I finally make a good move in paralyzing it with Glare, and then Emboar can finally take that thing out with one more arm thrust. Thank God. I can't believe a Celio just gave us that much trouble, but we made it through for our 7th gym badge of the run. We then pull up on Archie and Maxie, and bro, in what universe do you need to be doing all of that? We now have to battle Archie, and his team was very fitting this battle around. He sent out his Mantike as I lead with Ball. On the first turn, I just set up a light screen as it does awful damage with Takedown. This is great, leading us to get a +2 special attack and defense boost with Calm Mind, as it just sets up an Aqua Ring, so one more Psychic is enough to take that thing out. Its next Pokemon is a Wailord, and we strike it to over half with the Psychic and get the special defense drop as it then sets up Amnesia. Very interesting. Since he got back to +1 special defense with Amnesia, the Psychic I deliver falls very short of the KO, and Wailord regenerates all of his health with Rest. This really isn't that big of an issue though, since Wailord isn't equipped with the Chesto Berry, so I bring it to half with the Psychic, then use Calm Mind on his second sleep turn, and then finally take it out with one more Psychic. He now sends an Aggron, and even though I have the type disadvantage, I am pretty set up, so I go for an Air Slash that brings him into the red as it just goes for Iron Defense, so one more Psychic does him in. His last Pokemon is a poor Carablast that gets annihilated by a +3 super effective Air Slash, a bit of an overkill, but it got us the dub over Archie. I then, for whatever reason, let this madman summon the God of the Sea. And then Steven Stone pulls up and he's like, "You are the only one that can take care of this monster. Even though I am a champion of the whole league, I am still outclassed." Seems legit. Now that we are alone in this excursion, y'all know I gotta put on that drip, and damn, we really got that shit on. We then end up finding Kyogre, and this thing could randomize into anything. It could be a run ender for what we are about to encounter.
Bruh.
Okay, well, it wasn't really that bad. We have finally made it to the final gym leader, Wallace, and there is no going back. Let's see what he has in store for us. He leads with a Landorus with Download out of all things as I send out Ball. This thing's moveset could be insane, so I switch into Lake to resist the Rock Throw, and then on the next turn I use Ice Fang and it does a lot of damage, bringing it to a quarter as it hits a very weak Earth Power. Wallace then full restores, but we bring him back to where he was before with another Ice Fang. On the next turn, we end up missing our next Ice Fang due to its low accuracy, giving Landorus a free hit, but that doesn't phase the Great Lake, taking him out on the following turn with one more Ice Fang. His next Pokemon is a Thundurus, and since Lake's special defense is honestly insane, I stay in, and Landorus uses a Heal Block. He must not know this is a Hardcore Nuzlocke, as we smash it to half with another Ice Fang. Landorus then goes for a Discharge, and in any other Pokemon game, this would have destroyed Lake, but he tanks it to over half as we take Landorus to the red with an Ice Fang, and it gets the freeze. This means that one more slash is enough to put that thing out of its misery. Next up is his Eevee that baton passes into Frillish, and since we use Slash, it wasn't affected due to its ghost typing. But what does affect ghost typing is a super effective crunch that led Frillish to his early demise. He next sends out Eevee, but once more baton passing into Seaking, but a critical hit Slash is enough to knock that thing out as well. His last Pokemon is of course Eevee, and with him using his last resort in life in Double Edge, we secure the win with a couple of slashes, earning us our 8th and final gym badge. We have now made it to Evergrande City, and we have made it through Victory Road, which means we have one more major challenge to face before the Elite Four, and that challenge is Wally. He starts the battle by sending out Politoed as I lead with Ball. Politoed outspeeds with a swagger to confuse us as we break through confusion to set up a light screen. I definitely need to switch, so I get Sceptile out there as Politoed uses Perish Song. This just puts Sceptile on a clock, and especially since he went for swagger, is what I would say if Sceptile's ability wasn't Own Tempo. Since Own Tempo doesn't allow a Pokemon to be confused, this combination of the free attack boost with the same type attack bonus super effective Leaf Blade is enough to take that thing out. His next Pokemon is a Glaceon, and playing it safe, I switch into Flashlight as Glaceon sets up the hail. Believe it or not, Embor is able to outspeed and take out that thing with a super effective flamethrower. His next Pokemon is Alomamolola. How do you even say that? Because I butchered his name, I switch into Sceptile to hit it with a Leaf Blade to get that thing off the field. His Shuckle is up next, so I switch into Lake as it just goes for a Guard Split. I then go for Ice Fang, but it misses, but it just goes for Guard Split again. This leads us to do decent damage with Ice Fang, and since Shuckle flinched, we are able to take it out with a Waterfall. His last Pokemon is a Cherrim, and after switching into Flashlight, we are able to take that thing out with one Flamethrower, giving us yet another dub over Wally. After that, we start making final preparations for the Elite Four, and this will be my final team that I take it on with. We have Solid Rock Ball with Air Slash, Calm Mind, Light Screen, and Psychic. Tough Claws Blaziken with Blaze Kick, Double Kick, Flame Charge, and Bulk Up. Damp Mamoswine with Earthquake, Ancient Power, Ice Shard, and Ice Fang. Hustle Feraligatr with Ice Fang, Waterfall, Crunch, and Agility. Poison Point Dragolgi with Dragon Pulse, Toxic, Protect, and Sludge Bomb. And last but not least, we have Own Tempo Sceptile with X-Scissor, Dual Chop, Leaf Blade, and Detect. Our first battle of the Elite Four is Sydney, and he sends out a Starly as I lead with Ball. I'm just gonna cut the middleman and say that we took it out with a Psychic, but then Sydney sends out his mighty Gyarados. This thing could be a huge threat, so I switch into Engine as Gyarados just goes for a weak Crunch, also getting poisoned by my Poison Point ability. I then Protect to rack up more poison damage, then on the next turn, Gyarados just goes for a Dragon Dance, so one more Sludge Bomb is enough to annihilate that thing. Chespin is up next, and after taking a very weak Body Slam, we send that thing back to the lobby with another Sludge Bomb. His Darmanitan is up next, so I switch into Lake as Darmanitan just goes for a Taunt. He does outspeed and hits us to half with a superpower, but after the defense drop, one Waterfall is enough to KO him as well. His last Pokemon is a Rough Skin Manaphy, so after getting hit with a weak Bubble Beam and doing Chip with Crunch, I switch into Sceptile that gets hit with very pitiful damage by Bubble Beam on the way in. Manaphy is pretty walled at this point, so after hitting it with 3 consecutive Leaf Blades, we are able to take home our first Elite Four dub. Now up next, we have a battle against Phoebe, and she sends out a Weedle as I lead with Ball. We obviously end up taking it out with one Air Slash, which segues us into her Thundurus. Seeing that Ball's life is at stake, I switch into Truck that should resist a lot of its moves. Thundurus does outspeed and hits us to half with a Crunch as we end up one-hit KOing it with an Ice Fang. Let's go. She next sends in her Linoon, and it hits us to the red with a Double Edge as we knock her to the red with an Earthquake. Seeing a Hyper Potion coming, I switch into Kendall as Phoebe uses a full restore. Since we outspeed, a single double kick takes that thing out. Our next Pokemon is a Frogadier, but not just any Frogadier. This one has the most annoying moveset of all time in Substitute, Double Team, and Bounce. This battle took 10 minutes of PowerPoint stalling, wearing my patience thin, but eventually we whittle him down with Sludge Bombs and finally take that thing out as well. Her next Pokemon is an Ampharos that just goes for a Cotton Guard as we stay paralyzed. I need to get a Toxic off on this thing, but it brings us to a quarter with a Power Gem as we stay paralyzed once more. It then brings us to the red with another Power Gem, and thank God we finally poison it with Toxic. Very much needing to switch, I get Dirt out there to tank the Power Gem very comfortably. Ampharos then hits us to half with the Signal Beam, and then we end up taking it out with a super powered Dual Chop, taking home the win over Phoebe. Up next is Glacia, and fittingly she sends out an Abomasnow as I lead with Ball. We are off to a good start because Abomasnow missed his Blizzard, so we end up bringing it to a quarter with an Air Slash. Clearly not wanting him to hit that Blizzard, I switch into Kindle as Abomasnow goes for Ingrain. He then goes for a Hammer Arm that ends up doing very pitiful damage, so I decide to take it out with Flame Charge, also boosting my speed. And do y'all want to know what she sends out next? The worst thing for my team to face. The literal mascot of the game. It is Kyogre. I do a half decent smart thing by sitting in Dirt as it just sets up an Aqua Ring. It then outspeeds and uses Ice Beam, but it does awful damage. Why, you might ask? It's because of the stat randomization, so its special attack must have been switched with something terrible. So fortunately, we end up taking it out with only half HP remaining. She next sends out her Pansear that was an easy switch into Lake, so one Waterfall takes him out as well. She next sends out her Jellicent that ends up setting up the Rain with Rain Dance as we miss our Crunch due to our Hustle ability. She then hits us with an Ominous Wind that does awful damage, but it gets the Omni Boost, so now this thing is going to be a 3-hit KO with Crunch. I thought she had more full restores in the back, but she didn't because she used all of them on Kyogre, so 2 more Crunches are enough to take that Jellyfish out. Her last Pokemon is a Clauncher, and since it's a pre-evolution, it goes down to 2 Crunches, giving us yet another Elite Four dub. Our final battle that decides whether we make it to the champion is Drake, and he sends out a Rose Raid as I lead with Ball. On the first turn, I go for a Light Screen, boosting my team's special defense as it just uses Sweet Scent, so after that, one Air Slash is enough to knock that thing out for the 1-hit KO. He next sends out Celio, oh god, and I stay in and use Calm Mind as he just sets up the Hail. I then go for a Psychic that does pretty decent damage as Celio goes for a Swagger. Drake then goes for a full restore, but then I go ahead and break out of Confusion to bring him back down to a quarter with Air Slash. Predicting he is going for a Blizzard, I switch into Lake to tank it, and then on the next turn we finish him off with a Crunch. His next Pokemon is a Druddigon, and it hits a very weak Rock Climb as we KO it with 2 Ice Fangs due to a speed tie. His second to last Pokemon is a Staryu, and after missing a Crunch, it gets off a Cosmic Power. Not liking that at all, I switch into Sceptile that can 1-hit KO it with a Leaf Blade. His last Pokemon is a Seadra, and it merely gets off a Dragon Dance as it falls to Sceptile's Leaf Blade, giving us the dub over the whole Elite Four. This is it. All the pain and suffering we have overcame, the journey we have went through, and all of the Pokemon that have stuck by our side have helped us get to where we are. All of our cards are on the table. Our trials and tribulations have gotten us to this point, so let us do the best we can against the champion, Steven Stone. He sends out a Jumpluff as I send out Kindle. We start the battle by bulking up as it goes for a Cotton Spore, reducing my speed. Jumpluff then goes for a Worry Seed, getting rid of my ability as we hit it to over half with a Flame Charge. Jumpluff then goes for a U-turn, not doing too much damage as he switches into Crocodile as we bulk up. Even being at -1 speed, we somehow outspeed and can take it to what must be 1 HP. I can't even see the HP bar as he slams us to 38 HP with Earthquake. Steven then goes for a full restore as we bring it back into the red with another double kick, so 1 more Flame Charge does Crocodile in. He next sends out his Corsola, so I take it out with a 1-hit KO from double kick as well. His next Pokemon is just a Purloin, so we can take it out with another double kick. Alright. He now sends out a Genuine Threat Archeops, and after trying to take it out with a double kick, it wasn't enough, and Kindle goes down to a Rock Slide. Rest in peace, brother. This does, however, give us a free switch into Trunk. We then go for a priority Ice Shard that barely misses out on the KO as Archeops impales us with a Rock Slide to over half. Steven then goes for a full restore as we hit Archeops to over half with an Ice Fang. And Archeops misses his next Rock Slide, so we can take it out with one more Ice Fang. His next Pokemon is Swadloon, and it does a pretty decent amount of damage with Razor Leaf, but with it being 4 times super effective to Ice, it just didn't stand a chance. Steven sends out his last resort Jumpluff, and with one priority Ice Shard, we were able to take home the win over the whole Randomizer challenge. We absolutely did it, y'all. A Pokemon Randomizer with Hardcore Nuzlocke rules. The next Randomizer go around, I'm going to make it damn near impossible to complete. I am sorry this video took so long to come out. I just moved and I'm switching jobs. Life has just been crazy recently, but I'm getting back on my grind ASAP. If y'all have enjoyed the video, smash that like button like a sloppy Susan on a Tuesday. And if you want to see more content like this, drop a sub. I love all of my viewers, so if you want a specific run done, comment down below. But this, my friends, was a Pokemon Alpha Sapphire Randomizer Hardcore Nuzlocke, and I hope to see you in my next run.